millions of dollars on the revenue side. I think that's less important than just providing the service, having a company culture, growing our employee base here in North Carolina, kind of growing our office presence right here in Research Triangle Park.
Have you faced any such life experiences where people would call you, okay, listen, Adrian, this is not going to work. Step back.
Having quick communication and starting the communication so that you can provide the information you need, and then someone from the office is responding and actually getting involved and giving you that personal touch and that unique touch. With anything that's new to the world, right, there's always the naysayers that say this will never work, it's not ready, it's not good enough, it's not this, it's not that. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to take all that feedback and you can't just disregard it all. But you have to really analyze it and say what perspective is that coming from?
Hello and welcome to Nepal Talks Presents Keep Talking podcast, where I am to present you successful entrepreneurs and influential personalities so you can get inspired on an everyday basis. Today, I have an extreme pleasure to be in conversation with someone who provides the service that you may need, especially if you have home-based business. If you are service providers, then this is the service you would absolutely need in today's world. Let me have an honor to present you Adrian Rodriguez. Adrian, welcome to Nepal Talks.
Thank you so much, Ananta. Thanks for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be here with you and learning more about this business and sharing a little bit about Snap Pick Fix with you.
Absolutely. So Snap Pick Fix is the name of the company that you own, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
What does that mean? What is a Snap Pick Fix? Give us a brief overview of what type of services do you provide?
Yeah, so Snap Pick Fix is an AI tool for home service companies to make sure that no customers are falling through the crack. So home service companies, new customers are the bread and butter and what keeps the lights on for these businesses, making sure that every phone call gets answered, making sure that every customer gets a quick response can be the difference between a very successful month and a not so successful month. So we use technology to make sure that every customer gets an immediate response. And then as soon as we get engagement from that customer, we hand that customer back over to the business so that they can close the deal, go through the sales cycle, and sell their services. So we work with home service companies primarily, painting companies, roofing companies, plumbers, electricians, that kind of thing.
But why would somebody not pick up the phone when they have a business, right? They have a business, they have their phone, they have, they want to make money, right? They want to provide the service, but why would they not pick up the phone and ultimately require a company like Snap Pick Fix to handle those through an AI?
Yeah, life happens. I mean, I tell all of our customers, answer the phone. The first thing you have to do is answer the phone if you can get to it. But sometimes you might be in front of a customer and you're not going to stop talking to a current customer because your phone is ringing on the other hand. You might have spam calls that are hitting your phone every day. And so you might, not want to answer that spam risk call when you see that on the screen. You might be at a family event. You might not be able to answer the phone. So life happens. We know that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, life happens. You always want to get to the phone. You try your best to get to the phone. But for those rare instances where you can't get to the phone, Snap Pick Fix is there. And if we can convert one extra job a month, that could be the difference between a good month and a bad month.
That is so incredible. But let me try to understand the entire life cycle of this, right? I, as a customer, wanted to call Mr. Joe, who is a plumber, and my, bathroom broke.
That's right.
In the middle of the night. I wanted to give him a call, but he wouldn't pick up in the middle of the night. Then what does your company do? Where does that call go if they had your service?
Yeah, so just like voicemail today, if the call can't be answered, it transfers to our system. We'll send them a text message and we'll start a conversation with that customer asking, hey, what's going on? You'll respond and say, I have this problem in my bathroom. Maybe something's clogged. Maybe something's broken. You provide that information. We pass that information back over to Joe, the plumber, who couldn't answer the phone. He can see that message coming in and maybe he says, hey, hey, this is worth a call back right now. They can get your address. They'll have your phone number. Maybe they drop what they're doing and maybe they go and help you, or maybe they leave it till tomorrow morning if it isn't an emergency situation and call you back when they can.
But how would your company or an AI agent or whatsoever would know what to talk with me in the middle of the night? How would it understand my need? How would it respond to, my specific queries? How do you build that? How do you know, what's in my mind, or what am I truly looking for when I ask something?
Yeah. So for the most part, we start with an open-ended question. So how can I help? And then that response can be anything from I need to change an appointment to I wanted to pay my bill to I have this issue that I need help with. It could involve pictures. It could involve just description of what's going on. And then we hand that back over to the plumber for them to engage with the customer. So you're not talking to a robot. You're not talking to an IVR system with Snap Pick Fix. You're talking to a human on the other end. We're just making sure that it's an efficient communication and that it's a quick communication.
So when I called, Joe wasn't able to pick that phone. The phone goes to an AI agent, you said, right? Mm-hmm. Or does it go to the human?
So our agent will respond to the customer, to the person that called, and say, sorry, I missed your call. How can I help? And then all that information is given back over to Joe or his office manager or his business development person, and then they can respond to that.
Okay. So it's not sole AI that is completely responding to the customer. It's your agent. Is that the human agent or an AI agent?
So it's the office. So the office is answering the messages back and forth. So you're talking to a human on the other end. We start the communication and we'll ask, some that open-ended questions to start the communication. Mm-hmm. But then you're speaking to Joe the entire time. You're not talking to a Snap Pick Fix employee. Or we're not a call center. We're the technology provider to make sure that you get a response back from Joe and his company.
Okay. All right. And you save all of those conversations for Joe to look at it and then, make a decision on what needs to be done in that case.
Yeah, he's getting all that information in real time. So him and his team are getting that information. It shows up on a dashboard. It's synchronized to any customer service tools or invoicing and estimation tools that they're using, different CRM tools that they might already be using for their billing and for their review management. And so we're putting all that information into the tools that their team is already using.
How is it different than the call center or any other AI agents that they have built in websites and, multiple, the platforms these days where WhatsApp can automatically reply and so many banking systems can automatically reply with their own AI agent? How is it different in your case?
Yeah. So in our case, we're connecting you with Joe, and we're not kind of walking you through. You're not talking to a robot. We're connecting you with Joe and we're just providing that quick communication. Mm-hmm. So it's different from different chatbots and things like that. Those exist and you can put that on your website. But in our case, we want to connect you with the human. We want to connect you with someone that can provide that human touch. It's not just filling out a form, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually connecting you with someone that can provide the answers that you need and can actually resolve the problem that you're looking for.
Okay. That's interesting. The world is moving towards completely automation and people are going towards, how can they eliminate the human portion of the entire workflow. Your company is trying to come up with a solution that, that probably bridges the gap between those completely automation and the human, portion of it.
Yeah. So home services is a very personal experience, right? In most cases, you're letting someone into your house. This is where you live. This is where your family lives. You might have kids that are running around. It's a very personal experience. And what we want to do is empower the business owners, empower their office, empower their business development team, maybe their estimators, maybe their office staff to be able to provide a better experience and to be able to provide an answer to customers quickly and not eliminate that entire human touch. So we focused our AI and our technology in making the humans more efficient and more productive as opposed to replacing them altogether. So we don't have, like I said, you're not talking to a robot. You're not talking to a chatbot. You're not going through a sequential sequence of questions that are the same every single time. We're having quick communication and starting the communication so that you can provide the information you need. And then someone from the office is responding and actually getting involved and giving you that personal touch and that unique touch that business can offer, because every plumbing company is different, right? If they all had the same bot and the same technology, they'd all be the same. But plumbing companies are all different, and they should have an opportunity to provide their unique touch and their unique personality and their unique business proposition to all the home service companies that they work with and all the homeowners that they work with. So that's what we want to do, is we want to empower those businesses to be unique and to shine through phone interactions, through text message communications, digital communications.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
We've talked about plumbing business a lot, and I don't want to, give an impression that this is only for the plumbing or any business related to that. What other type of businesses, home-based businesses, could benefit from the services that you provide?
That's right. So we work with a lot of different home service companies. We were going with the plumbing example. We work with a lot of painting companies. We work with electricians. We work with roofers, gutters, anything that has a phone call coming in, we can work with. So in a lot of cases, Google Local Service Ads has a list of Google Local Services that are available. We integrate into Google Local Service Ads. So pretty much any category in Google Local Services, we can integrate with that. But our bread and butter is really the home service companies, including plumbers, but including all the other types of home service contractors and trades that will be coming into a house and that you'd be reaching out to over the phone.
You're based here in RTP, Research Triangle Park, in the state of North Carolina. Do you provide service only to this particular geographic location, or is your service more suitable to people from all states in the United States?
Yeah, we're nationwide. We're international. We were founded in North Carolina and kind of a homegrown local product to Research Triangle Park, Durham, North Carolina, the Research Triangle area. But we have customers throughout North Carolina and throughout the country. We've got some customers overseas. We've got some customers in Canada. So we can really serve anyone that has a telephone and has phone calls coming in. But we're very proud to be a North Carolina company and to have started the company here in North Carolina.
What did you do before starting this company, and when did you start this company?
Yeah, so this company came out of COVID. And before that, I worked in Research Triangle Park in different technology companies. So big technology companies brought me to North Carolina from Miami. I'm from the University of Miami. And then I did grad school, and then I ended up in North Carolina working for those tech companies, and always had kind of an entrepreneurial itch, and finally got to scratch it coming out of COVID.
That is fantastic. I've never thought anybody would move from Miami, Florida to the state of North Carolina just to start with their own journey and, entrepreneurship journey.
So I lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I went to MIT. And so North Carolina is kind of the in-between between Miami and Boston. So this is the middle ground between those two places.
Absolutely. Tell us more about your MIT experience. I'm so fascinated about, talking to people who've been to great universities like MIT. That has always been my dream. My daughter, my son would, I would love them to go to MIT one day. So tell us about your experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great experience. I was there for my master's degree, so I was there for 2 years.
What did you
study? And it's just life changing. I did engineering systems and technology and policy over there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That leads me to statements made by people that the formal education does not matter as much as experience. But a lot of entrepreneurs, great entrepreneurs, were educated in big universities. Some of them were not educated, but, experiences, great deal of experiences, life experiences, business experiences gave them the entrepreneurship and the successes in the later part of their life. What would you prefer if you had to choose between the formal education of 5 years versus experience of 5 years, what would you choose based on what you know as of today?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I've been lucky enough to go and get education at some great universities. I've also had some great work experiences working for big technology companies. And I think that balance of both of them is needed, right? You get a good foundation for problem solving and for just like the fundamentals of how things work. But once you get into the real world and you have the life experiences or work experiences, that's when you can really put it into practice. When you put things into practice, that's when you have failures. That's when you have, other experiences from that. And that's where you learn, right? So it gives you the opportunity to put those fundamentals that you've learned in the classroom, to use and to practice. So yeah, I don't think you can pick one over the other.
What makes a person a good engineer?
I think you've got to be a problem solver. You've got to be willing to dive in and attack something that maybe has never been done before and that has never been solved before, and just break it up into fundamental bite-sized pieces and address one thing after another until you get to the solution. I think entrepreneurship and business ownership is a lot like that, right? Kind of the end goal is to have and to build a successful company. But there's a lot of little pieces that have to fall into place in order for you to get there. And so I put my engineering cap on and just tackle one small thing at a time until you get there. Yeah.
But how do you manage those steps, little steps, right? So, for example, this is completely a metaphor, but I would still like you to answer it and give me some insights into it. There are so many steps in any problem. A unique situation. You try to fix one, the other one breaks. You fix that, the first one breaks. And you fix both of those, third one breaks. How do you manage to keep up with all of those components, all of those smaller issues, smaller pieces to make a whole big, and then finally come up with the entire solution? I would like to put that in perspective of the company that you own and you really built that. Give us some life scenarios, life examples of those.
Yeah. So, building Snap Pick Fix, right? We started, with an idea, and shared that idea with different customers, shared that with family and friends, and kind of went, building an initial version of the software, tested that, got that out into the market. Okay, then started testing some marketing messaging to go along with it, tested different industries where it can go in. And yeah, you take one step forward in one thing and take 2 steps back in another direction. But that's part of, the scientific method and part of business. And so, yeah, that's how it works.
Fantastic. That's cool. That's really cool. Now, where do you want to be in the next 10 years in terms of your company, Snap Pick Fix? Where do you see your company in the next 10 years in terms of the customer base, in terms of the revenue, in terms of the growth?
Yeah. So I want Snap Pick Fix to be the company, kind of powering the backbone of all home service companies. So when you reach out to a company and you hear back from them quickly, you think, hey, is that Snap Pick Fix that was reaching out? When you get a quick response back, I want those interactions and that good 5-star customer experience to be powered by Snap Pick Fix. Whether it's Snap Pick Fix or not, whether we're working behind the scenes, I want to make sure that homeowners are getting a quick response so that they can ultimately get their problem taken care of. As far as revenue, millions of dollars on the revenue side. I think that's less important than just providing the service, having a company culture, growing our employee base here in North Carolina, kind of growing our office presence right here in Research Triangle Park, and then the revenue will come from that.
Absolutely. I always love to listen to people who are so much into something they don't give up at all. They have a set of ideas they keep on working on, but people around them don't understand what really is he doing or she doing? Have you faced any challenges? Have you faced any such life experiences where people would call you, okay, listen, Adrian, this is not going to work. Step back.
I wish things always worked out, but that's not always the case.
Absolutely not.
I think with any business, with any new venture, with anything that's new to the world, right? There's always the naysayers that say this will never work. It's not ready. It's not good enough. It's not this. It's not that. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to take all that feedback and you can't just disregard it all. But you have to really analyze it and say what perspective is that coming from? What pieces of truth are involved in some of those comments? Sometimes it's great feedback. But even in those that negative feedback that you receive, those are some of the best learning opportunities to really take that feedback in and say, okay, based on this information that was provided, I can see how they drew this conclusion, right? And maybe it's an opportunity for a change. To make the product that much better. So I think you always learn a lot more from the failures than from the successes. When everything's just going well and everyone's just patting themselves on the back, you're not learning as much as some of those other opportunities where things, fail and you fail fast and you get back up and you just keep going.
That is great. Were you a problem solver as a kid, or did you gain your interest in engineering and technology later part in your life? When did you start thinking or made up your mind that, okay, I would like to go into technology, I'd like to go into engineering, or maybe something related to that? When did that transition happen?
Yeah, so I was building Legos before I knew what engineering was, right? So
Legos isn't
the original
for me.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
can't do any of those puzzles.
Yeah, I didn't know it was engineering back then. I was just playing with my Legos. But from a very early age, I was always a tinkerer. I was always working on things with my dad or with my grandfather, just like building things in the backyard and just like tinkering with things, taking things apart. And then as I went through school and started thinking about, college and thinking about choosing a major. Engineering was just a really easy fit and a really good fit for me. I had been playing with computers at that time, writing some code. And so computer engineering was just the perfect fit for me.
Very interesting, very inspiring. Thank you, Adrian, for your insight, your willingness, and your time, and everything that you have showered and enlightened us up today. One final question to you. When people are successful, they always have a story to tell. What story would be Adrian Rodriguez's story to tell to the world? So that stays.
I hope that story is one where Adrian Rodriguez helped other people. There's a quote that says, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And I hope that my story is something like that, where I helped people achieve their goals. I couldn't have gotten where I was without help of other people, great mentors, great support system. And so I want to pay it forward and help other people as well, kind of on my journey, and help other people achieve what they want, whether that's in business, in life, in education, whatever that may be.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'd like to continue our conversation, but on probably on a micro level, when we get back to probably, talk about one of the services that you specialize on, and then, dissect those into multiple pieces and, see how it works for consumers. But that's for the other day. For today, thank you very much one more time for your time and enlightenment.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.